Bhagavatam ki jai. All close to this and what you say. All glory to Sri Guru, Sri Guru. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna and good morning. Namaste, Namaskar. Hare Krishna. How's everybody? It's been a year since I've been here. Doesn't seem like it, but it is. Very happy to be here again. And trying to find something. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Which one is it?
It's 31 and 32.
31. Is that behind me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yata hi Bhagavan eva. Yata hi Bhagavan eva. Yata hi Bhagavan eva. Vastuta Sadasach Jayat. Vastuta Sadasach Jayat. Satyenanena Sarve Satyenanena Sarve Satyenanena Sarve Yantu Nasam Upadrava Yantu Nasam Upadrava. Well, actually, let's concentrate on 32, 33. That's you can repeat after me. The subtle and gross cosmic manifestation is material, but nevertheless, it is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he is ultimately the cause of all causes. Cause and effect are factually one. Because the cause is present in the effect. Therefore, the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead can destroy all our dangers by any of his potent thoughts. 32, 33. Oh dear. Bit of a tongue twister. Yatai. Kat. Mya. Myanu. Bhavanam. Yatai kat myanu bhavanam. Yatai kat myanu bhavanam. Vikalpa. Rahita. Swayam. Ushana. Yudha. Lingakya. Date. Shakti. Swamaya. Itai Katmyanu Bhavanam. Or with melody. Itai Katmyanu Bhavanam. Vikalpa Vikalparahita Swayam Bhushana Yuddha Lindakya Tate Shakti Swamayaya Yatai Katmyanubhavanam Vikalparahita Swayam Bhushana Yuddha Lindakya Tate Shakti Swamayaya 33. Tinaiva Satyamanena Sarvagyo Bhagavan Hari Patu Sarvai Swarupayaruna Sada Sarvatra Sarvaga Tinaiva Satyamanena Sarvagyo Bhagavan Hari Patu Sarvai Swarupayaruna Sada Sarvatra Sarvaga. Anybody like to go up number 32 first? The gentleman first. The gent's privilege of exposing yourself.
Yatai Katmyanubhavanam Vikalparahita Swayam Bhushana Yuddha Lingakya Tate Shakti Swamayaya
Number 33.
Tinaiva Satyamanena Sarvagyo Bhagavan Hari Patu Sarvas Swarupayana Sada Sarvatra Sarvaga.
Well done, young man sitting in the front. And ladies? Vikalparahita Swayam Tate Shakti Swamayaya. Good. Satya Satyamanena
Sarvagyo Bhagavan Hari Patu Sarve Swarupena Sada Sarvatra Sarvaga.
Yatha, just as. Aikatmya. In terms of oneness, manifested in varieties. Anubhavanam. Of those thinking. Vikalparahita. The absence of difference. Swayam. Himself. Bhushana. Decorations. Ayuta. Weapons. Linga Akya. Characteristics and different names. Tate. Possesses. Shakti. Potencies like wealth, influence, power, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. Swamayaya. By expanding his spiritual energy. Tena eva. By that. Satyamanena. True understanding. Sarvagya, Omniscient, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hari, who can take away all the illusions of the living entities. True, may he protect. Sarvai, all. Swarupai, his forms. Naha, us. Sada, always. Sarvatra, everywhere. Sarvaga, who is all pervasive. Translation. Do some ironing this month. Good Lord. Don't be jealous, okay? This is what you see the tables and chairs. When you're on the way towards the ultimate test. The Supreme Personality, did we do this already? No, we didn't. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entities, the material energy, the spiritual energy, and the entire creation are all individual substances. In the ultimate analysis, however, together they constitute the Supreme One, the personality of God. Therefore, those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge see unity in diversity. For such advanced persons, the Lord's bodily decorations, his name, his fame, his attributes and forms, and weapons in his hand, are manifestations of the strength of his potency. According to their elevated spiritual understanding, the omniscient Lord, who manifests various forms, is present everywhere. May he always protect us, everywhere, from all calamities. There was a battle of chairs this morning. I took your chair. I said, no. Well, this was a better one, actually. Prabhu, a person highly elevated in spiritual knowledge knows that nothing exists but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna's Sarvam, indicating that everything we see is an expansion of his energy. This is confirmed in the Vishnu Purana. Ekadesha stitastyavner Jyotsnavistarini yata parasya brahmana shaktis tatedam akilam jagat. As a fire, although existing in one place, can expand its light and heat everywhere, so the omnipotent Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although situated in his spiritual abode, expands himself everywhere, in both the material and spiritual worlds, by his various energies. Okay, got that? That's the first part. God is everywhere. He expands himself everywhere. He's the fire. Everything else is the radiance, the heat, the light of the fire. That's the first one. Now we move on. Since both cause and effect are the Supreme Lord, there is no difference between cause and effect. I think it's very philosophical. So cause is, Prabhuji, what's his name? Who brought in the table? What's your name? Panchatattva, the newly initiated Panchatattva. Haribol, congratulations. So, the cause of this table being right here is Panchatattva. Did you know you were the cause? You're not the supreme cause. Because this cause is beyond you. You are an effect of another cause. There's a chain of cause, in fact. But the fact that this table is here is an effect of a cause. And the cause is Panchatattva. Okay. So now, I'm going to drink something. Okay. This is a cause. I'm raising it to my left and drinking. Oh look, it's had an effect. The effect is the water has gone from here to here. That's the effect. Okay. Now, the point that we're making here is that the chain of cause and effect. There's a difference between me and the cup. That may not come as a surprise to you. There's a difference between me and the cup. There's a difference between Panchatattva and the cup. But in God, there's no difference between the cause and the effect, because it's all Him. So it's all one. Okay? No purpose now. However, the purport goes on. Don't start thinking that it's all one, because there's no difference between cause and effect. Consequently, the ornaments and weapons of the Lord, being expansions of His spiritual energy, are not different from Him. There's no difference between the Lord and His variously presented energies. This is also confirmed in the Padma Purana. Everybody knows this. If you know it, say it along with me. Nama Chintani Krishnas Chaitanya Savigraha Purna Shuddha Nityamukta Vinapan Namanamina. And immediately I'm going to ask that the Management Council of the UK recognise Karuna Bhavan as a place where everybody speaks Sanskrit. Because you all did that perfectly, so you must all know that verse, or it's behind me. The holy name of the Lord is fully identical with the Lord, not partially. The word Purna means complete. The Lord is omnipotent and omniscient, and similarly, His name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and everything pertaining to Him are complete, pure, eternal, and free from material contamination. Okay, that's the second part. So everything expands from Him, the cause and effect are the same. In one sense, everything is one. However, what does that good to us? Well, the prayer to the ornaments and carriers of the Lord is not false, for they are as good as the Lord. This point has to be made, actually, because someone may be thinking that, well, God is God. But who's this bird? Who's this bird, Garuda, that God flies on? That's surely nothing to do with him. I mean, obviously, it's just a bird. So why should we pray to a bird? Why don't we just pray to God? Why should we pray to the Sudarshan Chakra? There was a lady, pregnant lady, she wanted full protection. She was from South India. And she said, can you come to my house and for me and my husband do a Sudarshan Chakra puja? So I don't usually get requested by the Gujaratis to a Sudarshan Chakra puja, but she was from Tamil Nadu. So they're very much into Sudarshan Chakra, as we should be also. And so we did a puja and she was very happy, the husband was very happy. I eat very well, so I was happy. But you may say, well, the Sudarshan Chakra is not God. How can you do a puja to something which is not God? How can you do a puja to a wheel, a disc that God carries in His hand? How is that? Surely you should just worship God, but not the things that are around Him. So that is why it's being mentioned here. If you pray to the attributes, the ayudha, the attributes of the Lord, which are meant for, what does Prabhupada say? The blessings of the Lord. I was in Mayapur in 1977. Prabhupada translated the 7th canto. We'd never heard the 7th canto before. We knew there was someone called Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev. But we didn't know, the story. You tell that to the kids. And how could you not know the story? It's in the Bhagavatam. Well, the Bhagavatam has just been translated. So Prabhupada was sitting there. I may have told the story before, but he held his left hand up like this. And with his right hand, he took his index finger. He was going like that, and I was watching Prabhupada's hand. He was saying, so, Lord Nrsimhadev has a soft palm. And he was going on a very delicate, soft palm. He said, but his nails very sharp, like chisels. Now, Madhvacharya, the South Indian 13th century saint who was in our Guru Parampara, he had a whole prayer book just to the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev. Nothing else, just to the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev. And he says that the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev are none different from the Sudarshan Chakra. That's how the Sudarshan Chakra manifests in the nails of. So he prays to the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev, please protect me. Please protect me. So it is possible to pray to different ayutas, different attributes of the Lord, just a little detail. Because you might get bored with too much reading. So they're not false, for they are as good as the Lord, Jesus said. Finally, he exists, since the Lord is all pervasive, he exists in everything, and everything exists in him. Therefore, even worship of the Lord's weapons or ornaments has the same potency as worship of the Lord. Mayavadis refuse to accept the form of the Lord, or they say that the form of the Lord is Maya or false. But one should note very carefully, this is not acceptable. Sort of an understatement. This is not acceptable. Although the Lord's original form and his impersonal expansion are one, the Lord maintains his form, qualities, and abode eternally. Therefore, this prayer says, Jatu Sarvai Sarupayana Sada Sarvatra Sarvaga. May the Lord, who is all pervasive in its various forms, protect us everywhere. The Lord is always present everywhere by his name, form, qualities, attributes, and paraphernalia, and they all have equal power to protect the devotees. Madhvacharya explains this as follows. There's no translation to that. Eka eva parabhanu bhushahati tojeshvaja tatat shakti pratatvena swayam eva virasita satyena anena mam deva ato sarveshvaro harihi sivasya. Same thing. Om adhyana tamadusya kanam janashvara chashura minitamdena. Nothing could be finer than to be in Karuna Bhavan in the morning. Fantastic. It's so nice to see you all. It's great to be back. This area of discussion is very important. It's the first area of discussion that any sampradaya likes to instill in its members. So as members of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have a unique understanding of the relationship between Krishna and his energies. Every Sampradaya has that's what makes a Sampradaya. You're a Sampradaya if you have a unique understanding of the relationship between God and his energies. Because there has to be a relationship. Difficulty is if God is completely separate from the world, then why should we pray to God? There's nothing that connects us. If God is completely integrated with the world, then he's kind of not God, is he? If I say, actually, this table is God, those glasses are God, everything is God, man. Everything is God. Then that oneness that I'm proclaiming reduces God to just a table or floorboards or a cup of water. So that's unacceptable. So every Sampradaya has to have a way of saying, it is God and it is God yet. So it's known as Tattva Traya. Tattva Traya. Tattva means a thatness. A thatness. It's a metaphysical component of reality. So tattva, thatness. So tattva and traya means three, of course. So there's three truths, three metaphysical components of reality. One is the observer. The observer. You can't deny that the observer observes. You're doing it right now. If you want to deny your own existence, go ahead. You can try to convince me that you don't exist, but I will never accept it, because you're in front of me. Madhvacharya, he says that we should, he made a funny statement. He said we should trust Shastra. He said, but at the same time, he said, don't mistrust the hand in front of your face. It's a reality. He was trying to argue with the Mayavadis. And Shastra said, we can go on all day talking about Tapatraya and understandings. He said, but let's not understand the hands in front of our faces. The reality that we see, sense perception, is not always to be immediately disregarded. So, Prabhupada was once asked, they asked him, Prabhupada, we see that you're so, you're so confident with the Mayavadis and with the scientists. You're so confident in stating that Krishna exists. How is that? Prabhupada said, because he is telling me that Krishna does not exist. But behind his shoulder, I'm seeing Krishna. He said, it is like a blind man telling me there is no sun in the sky. He's a fool. Why should I believe him? He's blind. So the reality is that God is there. I can see him. Why you cannot see him? So then they said, not part of the same conversation, but they were asking, how do you know that God was there? He said, just like a mother, she sees the shoes of her child. And it immediately makes her think of the child, just by seeing the shoes. The shoes are not the child, but by seeing the shoes of the child, immediately she thinks of the child. So in the same way, when a pure devotee of God sees trees, he immediately thinks of Krishna, because trees belong to Krishna. The mountains belong to it, it all belongs to Krishna. So in this way we see Krishna through the energies of Krishna in the beginning. Anyway, so Tapatraya means first is the observer, consciousness itself. Then comes what we are conscious of. In other words, I'm an observer. Let's go back to that. I'm seeing the table, I'm touching the table, I'm knocking on the table. This is something that I can see and interact with. I can see it. And then there's a controller, or Ishvara. Whether you say God or whether you just say laws of nature, that's okay. It's Tapatraya. The laws of nature are something that is allowing me to see the table. So, these are three things. The observer, the observed, and the laws of nature which allow the connection between the two. Got that? So far? Easy one. Then there's consciousness, same thing. Consciousness, the object I'm conscious of, and the facilitation of consciousness that exists between me and the object. So that's easy. So then, for this, Prabhupada cites many examples. He says, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bina Prakritir Ashtada. There are 8 material elements, and they are separated from me, Krishna says. They're elements, that's right, but they're separated from me. So here's clarification, that God and the elements are one, and yet they're separated. So what does that mean? How can they be separated and be one at the same time? The Prabhupada says, so I'm speaking into this microphone, and at the time, the devotees had bought a reel-to-reel tape recorder. He said, so you are recording on this machine. He said, then later on, you will listen to this machine playing my voice. So this is me, and this is my separated energy. So then he said, it is like the cow and the milk. He said, first the milk is inside the cow. Then you milk the cow. Then the milk becomes the separated energy of the cow. Get it? So, milk cow, cow milk. Just like that. So the milk is inside the cow. When it comes out of the cow, it's a separated energy. It's the Bina Shakti. So then he goes one more, and he says, just like a spider creates a cobweb, spider creates a web. First of all, there is just the spider, no web. First, there is a spider with no web. Then the spider decides, let me create a web. And she spins a web. Have you ever watched a spider creating a web? Nothing to do, so much that you can watch it. But this is a good education, you know. It's a good education to watch a spider spin a web, especially from the beginning. And the idea in your head comes, why am I doing this? This is so boring, watching this. And yet, there's another feeling that arises within you. This is so wonderful. How does she do this? And the web lines are exactly the same distance apart. It's incredible. It's all to catch flies. You may think this is to spin a web just to catch a fly, but it's amazing. And scientists have calculated that one of the most strongest things on Earth is a web. Per ratio of the content to strength is absolutely amazing. Anyway, Prabhu gives his example. He says the spider spins a web, does the business, and then when she wants, the web can be taken back inside her. The whole spider web can come back inside the spider. Did you know that, boys and girls? You didn't know that? Spider web right back inside. She's going to use it another time. Incredible. And so he says, in the same way, the Supreme Lord creates the whole material universe, this web-like material universe, and when it is time for the universe to end, back inside him again. See? So then these are some examples. The other example here from Krishna Purana is the fire and the sparks from the fire, the radiance, the heat and light from the fire. No. Jiva Goswami takes this example and he has fun with it. He says, let's see if I can get it right. He says, the heat and light from the sun is, what is it? Heat and light from the sun is the inside, the reflection of the sun in water. So that is the material energy. No, that is the jiva. The heat and light coming from the sun is material energy. The surface of the sun is the Supreme Lord Krishna, and the interior of the sun is Shri Krishna. Because the interior of the sun is nothing less than the sun, but at a much higher temperature. Nimai, how do they know that the inside of the sun is less hot than the surface of the sun? It's called science, isn't it? But how did Jiva Goswami know 500 years ago? He seems to have known. So, surface of the sun, Lord Krishna. Interior of the sun, where it's really, really hottest, is Krishna. Therefore, you can say there's no difference between Krishna and Vishnu, except in degree of heat, or degree of quality, or degree of sweetness, as we would say. And the heat and light coming from the sun is the material energy, and the reflection of the sun in the material energy, such as water or something, is the jiva. Is that all right? Okay, good. So then Jiva Goswami moves forward, and he says, but why would Krishna, who is completely self-satisfied, even want to create the material world? Why would he want to? Krishna's cause, Krishna's not cause, but everything that Krishna does is for pleasure. He is a supreme pleasure seeker. So his Swarup Shakti is just for giving him pleasure, so why would he want to create something like that? Why are these energies coming from him? So he says, just like you have a pot of milk, and the pot of milk is filled, but it's on heat. And at one point, the milk boils over. It has not increased the volume of milk, but it has boiled over as a natural phenomenon. So it says in the same way, it's still Krishna. There's not something else that has come out of the pot. It's still Krishna. But it just comes out in the normal way. So similarly, he says, there's a baby. He says, why does a baby laugh? This is Jiva Goswami writing. He says, why does a baby laugh? So the baby laughs just out of sheer joy. So when Krishna laughs, the material world is created. Anyway, so many different examples. Then we focus in on cause and effect. Well, we talked a little bit about cause and effect. There are many causes, and philosophers do try to trace everything to a cause, because as soon as you talk about creation, you're talking about creator. As soon as you talk about energies, you're talking about an energetic source. Where did it come from? So my house is burgled, someone runs away with my stuff, I have a CCTV. I want to know, where has the thief come from? Where's he gone? Something happened. And now I need to trace it back to its source, because then I can understand the energy from, I can understand the energy by talking about the source. So there are many new faces in this group here. I'd like to know where you came from. Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Where did you come from? I know. Well, that's the first question, isn't it? When you meet a devotee that you don't know. What's your name? Where did you come from? And then what's the question that all the other devotees ask? Who's your guru? Because I want to know who your guru is, because if I like your guru, I'll be your friend. And if I don't like your guru, then I'm not going to speak to you very much. I'll respect you from a distance, isn't it? What's your name? Where are you from? Who's your guru? Because the guru is supposed to be the person who is the cause of the effect. The effect is a disciple, the guru is meant to be the cause. So this is a natural phenomenon. Or we say, Prabhu, where did you get that chadar? It's such a nice chadar. Where did you get it from? I want to know the cause. I see an effect and I want to know the cause. So all of our conversations are tracing the cause back to the effect. Science is tracing the cause back to the effect. Philosophers want to trace the cause back to the effect. And in this way, our questioning method on planet Earth is all to do with cause and effect. So philosophers, they say that there is, they say there's cause is karana. So they have three different karanas. One of them is a shukshma karana, which means, they mean different. There's an immediate cause, an efficient cause, and a remote cause. The immediate, the efficient cause of this table is Panchatattva brought it. The material cause of this table is plastic and a factory and someone making it in a factory. And the remote cause is the factory and the fact that someone bought it. So when we try to understand ourselves, we want to especially in India, where parentage is very important. Say, who's your mother, who's your father? What do they do for a living? And as an English person or a Scottish person, when we go to India, they say, well, it's none of your business. But they want to know, from where did you come? What's your family tree? Now it's become very popular for people to trace back their DNA, hasn't it? You get a kit, you get a swab, take some DNA material from inside you. They can say, oh yes, you're 40% Aborigine, Australian Aborigine, 50% from Russia, the rest of you comes from Copenhagen. So people like to know, who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? So everybody has this discussion of cause and effect. Remote cause, immediate cause. So when a potter makes a pot, there is the various ingredients. The clay is one ingredient, the potter's wheel is an ingredient, and the pot himself is an ingredient. So we know about the ingredients of this world, but how do the ingredients of this world come to be manifest? That's what we need to know. So science does it in one way, philosopher does it in one way, a theologian does it in another way, but we all have the same question. So we say that there is a chain of cause and effects, where one effect becomes the cause of another effect. So every phenomenon that we see in this world is either a cause or effect, depending on how we are viewing it. But if you go right back to the beginning of the chain, you will find the first cause. That first cause, call it God, or whether you call it the Big Bang, or whether you call it whatever you call it. We run the principle that there was a first cause. Or some philosophers say the prime mover. The prime mover. So the cause of all causes, sarva karana karanam, is Krishna. Now, if we look at the Ishopanishad, we discover that even though there is a cause of all causes, when that cause of all causes creates effects, that first cause is not depleted in any way. If I have 5 bananas, and I give you one, and I give you a banana, and I give Prabhu a banana, and I give Vidopshija a banana, and I give Rav the banana, how many bananas do I have left, kids? I'm empty-handed, I've got no bananas left. So 5 minus 5 equals 0. Yeah. But when God gives bananas, He starts with 5 bananas and He ends up with 5 bananas. There's no depletion whatsoever. Om Puranam Adha Puranamidam Purana Puranam Adachate Puranasya Puranam Adaya Puranam Eva Shishate. No depletion. So it's not physics, is it? It's not physics. If you take energy from here and you put it over here, then this energy becomes less in this location. But in the question of God being the source of all energies, 5 bananas are nothing to Him. He makes 5 banana trees, or 50 banana trees, or 150 banana trees, just by blinking one eyelash. Nothing for Him. So this is another element here. The other element here is that we are talking about the Narayan Kavacha shield. The Narayan Kavacha shield. When it was first published in the 8th canto? 6th canto, good Lord. Chapter 8. So when the Narayan Kavacha shield first came out, the whole of ISKCON became slightly Narayan Kavacha shield focused, with brahmacharis all over the world reciting it. You don't know that, do you? It happens. When Prabhu translated something new, so the Narayan Kavacha shield will protect you from anything. It's cool, it's a shield that you can put around yourself and follow the mantra. I don't know whether devotees do that these days, do they, Prabhu? Find something in the Bhagavatam and immediately start implementing it, learning it. So we've had teams of devotees learning the prayers of Gajendra, teams of devotees learning the prayers uttered by the Prachetas to Lord Shiva and Lord Shiva's prayers. We've had teams of devotees learning the Narayan Kavacha shield. as Prabhupada was translating it. Now I guess it's not so, the novelty is gone. So anyway, devotees told me at one time in Iceland, the brahmacharis run book distribution in Iceland. You know Iceland? It's even colder than Scotland. Only 250,000 people there. But they read more books than any country in the planet. So devotees went there and they were having a great time selling books. Everybody, oh, this is a book, you know, it's a book, I must buy it. I don't read it because it's in English, but I must have it. All over Iceland, 250,000 people over there, all buying books. Devotees were delighted. Anyway, devotees told me that they, as you would expect, in Iceland, they were driving in their truck, rented truck, and they hit a patch of ice on the icy road. And it was sort of grooves, you know, that somehow water had frozen overnight. And they were skidding and skidding and skidding, and it went. And all the brahmacharis immediately started chanting the Narayan Kavacha Shield just to protect themselves, because they'd been learning it, you see, we'd all been learning it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Prabhupada says we should all learn verses so that we have our good verses in this lifetime. He says that Gajendra learned these verses in his last life. So in this life, when he really needed them, you know, they came into his mind, and they're beautiful verses. So this need for protection when you are dealing with the material energy is ever present. You can never not consider yourself to be in need of protection. And Prabhupada was, you know the story, Prabhupada was telling the devotees, he said, the pure devotee will never fall down. This is what a pure devotee means. And the next day, Prabhupada was standing in front of the deities and he was praying, which he didn't often do. Usually he bowed down, looked at the deities, and then turned around, got to the Vyasasan. And Vyasasan, in most of our temples, was in the place known as Vaishnava Shrestha, which is the chief of the Vaishnavas, which is normally reserved for Garuda. I'm just saying that because of this connection here. So Prabhupada, in placing himself as Vaishnava Shrestha in that spot, was signaling through furniture to us all that, you know, we have that connection with him, the deities, etc. So he's the person that we pray to. So he was praying to Krishna, and one lady asked him after breakfast, I think, when he had devotees in his room, he said, Prabhupada, may we ask a question? Prabhupada said, yes. He said, you prayed for a long time. He said, what were you praying? Now that's a bit cheeky to ask the Guru, what were you praying? That's a private thing between him and Krishna. Prabhupada said, yes, I was praying that I would never fall down. And then they said, but yesterday you told us that the pure devotee never falls down, and you're a pure devotee. He said, yes, the pure devotee never falls down because he is always praying, my dear Lord, please do not let me fall down. We are hanging on a thread. A thread, isn't it? I speak for myself. You have been swept up in the Lord's heavenly embrace, but we're hanging on a thread. We need to be asking for protection at all times. You know, as you get older, you suddenly discover that the youthful brahmachari body is a youthful brahmachari body you don't have anymore. And even that semi-youthful middle-aged body is something you don't have anymore. Basically, the material elements have begun dissolving back into material elements. You know, the air has started to become one with the air. The elbow has started to become one with the universal elbow. And basically, you start beginning to dissolve, disintegrate. And then you think, it's over. The potential for enjoying within this world has come to a close. And then you get desperate. You think, but it is possible. Damn it, it's still possible. How can I enjoy something? I told the story yesterday of the brahmachari who went to his sannyasi guru, who was a Shankara guru, and he wanted to take sannyas. He was 28, so the Shankaracharya, he was a French man, Shankaracharya was an Indian man. So then he said, how is your brahmachari life? And the 28-year-old brahmachari, had been brahmachari for 10 years or something like that. He said, oh, it's very strong. He said, yes, but now you're a young man. He said, when you get old, he said, especially over 55, this is a very, very dangerous time. And of course, this young man was very surprised. He said, I'm a strong brahmachari now. Why should I be weaker when I've been practicing brahmachari life for many, many years? So he said, no. He said, after 55, he said, the mind panics. The mind panics and the senses rebel. He said, you think you're controlling your senses now, but they will rebel against you. That's interesting. So normally we think of our abilities as a devotee to just, it's sort of like a plane taking off. Plane begins here and just reaches lift-off speed, and then it carries on and just goes up in a sort of 45-degree angle. We think that spiritual life goes like that. Well, I can tell you, there are surprises on the road. Definitely surprises on the road. Therefore, for those who are surrounded at all times by material danger, and for those devotees who realize that despite having taken shelter of the Supreme Lord, there are still dangers in the path of devotion, both of those persons at every moment should call out to the Supreme Lord for his different attributes. So when baby Krishna, when the first demon comes, Pujana, and Krishna sucks at her breast, the poisoned milk, and she tries to get him off. You can't get Krishna off the breast. And she says, no, child, leave me. He comes out of the house screaming and assumes this ghastly form. When all the gopis come to see Krishna, they think, we've got to protect Krishna. Krishna needs protection. He's just a baby. That's their love for the Lord. They have no idea that Krishna is actually the supreme source of all protection. They just see him as in need of protection. He's my baby. And they start covering him in the dust of the cows. And then they begin chanting mantras. And in those mantras, they call upon the various forms of the Lord to protect this baby Lord. So may, Madhusudan protect you on the left. May Govinda protect you on the right when you're playing. May Rishikesh protect your senses. May the Lord of Svetadweep protect your heart. Like that, different prayers. And we do these prayers even today when we do a baby blessing. We do baby blessings. We do these prayers. All about protection. Now, what happens if I pray for protection as a devotee and it doesn't work? What happens if something happens? If I jump the Narayan Kavacha and I crash the car? We had one devotee, do you remember Arjuna Krishna? He was chanting all kinds of mantras. But unfortunately, as well as chanting mantras, he was also very sleepy because he was up late at night. Devotees have a punishing schedule. We get up early in the morning, and then we have so-called evening programs or festivals that go on late at night sometimes. And because we live in different places, and the festival takes place over here, and you have to go over here in order to go home, this raises the phenomenon of young basically irresponsible people who think they're eternal, driving in very fast vehicles to get home late at night, having not slept very much the night before. So these 6, 7 comments make it a death trap. And you see such terrible accidents. As it happens, the devotees were protected. I don't know how. Some were not. But here in England, sometimes we had very bad accidents. This particular devotee he's driving, of course, on this side of the motorway, and he fell asleep and he drifted over to the central barrier, flipped the central barrier, rolled over a couple of times, and ended up in the lane facing the oncoming traffic. Then he woke up. Somehow he was protected. So I do think Krishna works overtime at protecting his devotees in the world. But it's very difficult to get insurance. Very difficult to get insurance. The old insurance joke was that there's 3 people that you can't protect. The alcohol salesman, the fur salesman, and the unmarried vicar. The vicar, because they tend to be bad drivers. They tend to put everything in the hand of God. Just like some taxi drivers in India. They put everything that is in the power of the marigold garland hanging from the mirror. And if you're under 25, that's a bad characteristic because, your brain is only finished developing at 21, and you tend to be very irresponsible. And if you're unmarried, that's not good. So brahmacharis were the most difficult people in the world, in the country, to insure. We reached a point where no insurance company in the whole of the United Kingdom would insure ISKCON's brahmachari drivers. They all got together. Phone calls were made from London to Scotland to Ireland, different places. They said, we can't insure these people anymore, they're terrible. So the only way around was to invite a spokesperson from the insurance company to come to Bhaktivedanta Manor and to give us a devastating presentation in which he showed us police photographs of different accidents that had taken place. And these were the most grisly things to watch. And the devotees were going, it's just the material world. And he said, he was shouting at the devotees, he said, you do not realize this is serious. Devotees are just so jolly, they try to be serious. And anyway, they reinsured us. And I think we totaled something more. You had this problem in Scotland, didn't you? A few vehicles on the way. Yeah. So my dear friends, my dear devotees, we should at every moment be praying for the protection of the Lord. Who should you pray to? Everybody. I asked a sannyasi once, I said, Maharaj, should we pray to 4 Kumaras, or should we pray to Garuda, should we pray to Vishnu, should we pray to the Sudarshan? He said, just pray to everybody. And one of them will protect you. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions before we go for the consuming breakfast? Break our fast. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Arjuna, get enough sleep. Please get enough sleep. Get enough sleep. Get upset. Controversial statement. Get enough sleep. I do not agree with 100% came to Scotland. Said it in the Bhagavatam. Still controversial. This one. VNN.
I just wondered what the distinction is between praying for protection and having faith that if you give everything to serve Krishna, then Krishna will take care of you. You don't need to worry about praying separately for protection.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, the idea is to pray for protection. Pray for protection as much as possible, and then assume with faith that Krishna will honor your prayers and protect you. But don't presume that Krishna will protect you without your prayers. Because praying, you never lose. Praying, you never lose. Because praying puts you in the mood of receiving protection. Praying also puts you in the mood of humility. Praying also puts you in the mood of being a person who offers honor and respect to God or His attributes for becoming worthy. So Krishna is pleased by your prayers, pleased to reciprocate. And then, having done that, you can then assume a level of protection, which lasts until you go to sleep. The devotee is always in the mood of protection. If you remove that desperate need for protection, you remove everything, don't you? You take away everything. I don't need tilak because I have faith that Krishna will protect me. I don't need neck beads because I assume that Krishna will protect me. So you can strip away every single thing that a Vaishnava does in order to have protection on the assumption that you've already done enough. The devotees are always thinking, I've never done enough. I've done enough. There's always something more I should be doing. I assume that Krishna will protect me, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not such a great devotee that Krishna might protect me on Tuesday. So let me pray to Krishna on Tuesday for protection. And hearing yourself pray is very powerful.
So Srila Prabhupada has recommended that every day upon rising we should say, my dear Lord Krishna, from today I'm yours, you can kill me or protect me as you like. So I'm wondering about that.
Yeah. Avashya Rakshive Krishna. Avashya Rakshive Krishna, my dear Lord. You can kill me, yeah. It means that we are placing ourselves at His disposal. This is Scotland, so I have to be very careful how I speak. But Her Majesty the Queen, when she passed away, people got swept up into the ceremony and the ritual and everything of it. And immediately the mourning period was over, either publicly or officially. People started criticizing. How much did it cost? Why do we need to do this? It's medieval. It's a terrible thing, etc., etc. I'm not vouching for one opinion or the other because they both have validity. But to place oneself as a servant of the Majesty, the representative of God, is seen by people to be a weakness. They don't understand what being a servant means. My friend Ramesh was invited to Buckingham Palace to have lunch with the Queen and Prince Philip. And they served a meat dish. So he's a lifelong vegetarian. So he was just pushing the things around on his plate. And Prince Philip looked over and said, "What's the matter, Ramesh?" He said, "Well, I'm a vegetarian." I said, "Why didn't you say so?" He said he went back to the kitchen. And of course, brought him a vegetarian dish. Vegetarian dish was fish. Now, as everybody knows, fish is a vegetable. I was invited to a conference at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. Different people from different religions went along, where they teach the officers for the British Army. So at lunchtime, the chef himself came out and he said, "Well, we have arrangements for your Hindu diet. We acceptable. And I said, what's this? He said, oh, this is, guacamole and this and toast. Okay. What's this? He said, oh, that's salmon. I sort of gave him a withering look and I said, so it's vegetarian, right? Salmon is a vegetable. And his face just sort of, he was just getting to grips with the fact that salmon might not be a vegetable. He said, it's not a vegetable, is it? I said, Anyway, they came. So eventually they brought something. And the head chef came and they apologized to my friend Ramesh. He said, is there anything that we can do? And he said, well, you can bring the staff of Buckingham Palace to Bhaktivedanta Manor and we will serve you a vegetarian lunch. So it took 6 months, but 6 months later we had the lieutenant of the Buckingham Palace staff and 17 members of the staff. They all came to Bhaktivedanta Manor and we served them. And as servants, they had never been served before. And they really liked it. So we took them on the bullock cart, we took them to the theatre, and they came in the temple room. And of course the deities are over there, they come in over there. That's a long story. But every single one of them looked up at the ceiling. And I thought, what are they doing? I said, he said, well, because we're servants, and we look at as a servant, we always look to see if the chandeliers are clean. If the chandeliers are clean from cobwebs, we know that the servants in this place are doing a good job. So we looked at your chandeliers. So Krishna was over here and they're looking at the chandeliers. So in the end, they were very happy. They said, yes, you've been doing a good job. So we went to the theatre and I gave a talk. And they said, we understand what your devotional service is. We wake up in the morning and we think of the royal family. We are servants. That's completely our job, is to make sure that we do everything for them and that there's nothing that they need. You wake up in the morning and you think you're serving Radha and Krishna. He said, that's the difference. You're divine servants, but we're all servants. We feel we understand you really well. And they all clapped. And nice people. But people do not know what the level of the identity of servant is for Vaishnava. We are completely sold out. It's a slightly controversial story, but Srila Prabhupada had a godbrother known as B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, and he told the story to show what a sold out servant is, or what a sold out servant of a monarch is. He said once the king of Iran was brought to the Tower of London on a state visit. This was in the 1800s, and late 1800s, early 1900s. And they said, and this is the chamber where they used to execute people by cutting off their heads. There's the axe and there's the chopping block. He said, oh, this is very interesting. Can you show me? Show me how it was done. And they said, what do you mean? He said, well, you can cut someone's head off, show me. True story. They said, well, Your Majesty, we don't do that anymore in England. He said, no, but I'm the king of Iran, so you can do it for me. Just one person, that's all. He said, and anyway, if you don't have any of your own men that you want to kill, I've got one here. He went like that, and someone walked forward, Your Majesty. So Sridhar Maharaj used this as a story to show what being completely sold out is. Abhashya Rakshi Krishna, my dear Lord, you can kill me, you can promote me, you can destroy me, you can protect me, as you like. This is the mood of the devotee. Hare Krishna. Now, we have to be careful in these enlightened times in which we live. Devotees work with, should we say, a prescribed boundary. We have a boundary. We know what it means to be the servant of the Guru. And we have reasonable understanding that it's not going to involve having your head cut off on a block. But at the same time, the mood is that I am the surrendered servant. There's a mood of, when you first come to Krishna, is I'm investigating this philosophy to see whether I want to be a part of this. There's a mood later on that I'm not sure that I like 80%, 85%. There's a few bits that I don't like. Then there's a mood that comes, this is it, this is my life. And at that moment you get the word Das added to your name. And sometimes Das or Dasi is translated as servant, and sometimes it's translated as slave. It means, what is a slave? The difference is, I'm a servant and I get paid. I'm a slave and I don't get paid. I'm a servant and my life is my own and I'm working for this person and I could get fired and I need some money. So this is, I'm serving. At the same time, a slave means my life is no longer my own. My life is no longer my own. I am a servant, a slave of God. So most, gosh, that sounds chilling, doesn't it? But that's what you're brought into. If you've got the name Das or Dasi, that's really. So as Prabhuji was suggesting, we should wake up every morning and think, this is me, sold out, slave of the Lord. Sorry, punched up, but Dasi's looking a bit. He's like, what have I done? What have I done? Muhammad didn't tell me this bit. So that's the mood. That's the mood of a devotee, and then you get protection. Then you get protection, because Maharaj Ambarish was fully in that mood. Every single thing I do with my fingers, I'm going to sweep the temple, make garlands, cook for the Lord. With my eyes, I'm going to see the Lord and the devotees of the Lord. Every single aspect of his life, even though he was a king. This is the interesting thing. And this is why we hear a story in the Bhagavatam, we hear the Bhagavatam stories. So many kings who would consider themselves sold-out slaves of God. Well, how can a sold-out slave be a king? Think about it. Think about it. How can a sold-out slave be a king? Well, in the same sense as if God says, are you my sold-out slave? Yes, my Lord. Then I want you to be a king. Can you be a king for me? Yes, my Lord. So be a king. And this is the idea of being a king or a queen. You're a sold-out slave to God. So Maharaj Ambarish was protected immediately. See, Gajendra, he wasn't quite so surrendered. It was 1,000 years of struggle before the Lord came for him. Ambarish, immediately the Sudarshan Chakra came, the Lord sent it. So there's a degree. So we need to make sure we're on the upper end of the protection scale. You know? Pay your fees. It's a protection racket. But to make sure you pay up every time. Every day you have to pay the mafia.
If for any reason we have to take our neck beads off, if there's a reason why we have to take our neck beads off, but what do we do there? How can we protect? How can we get that protection if we don't have our neck beads?
My whole youth was spent police taking my neck beads off. Neck beads, Brahmin underwear. Of course, the sacred thread. So they would take it off because, of course, they claimed that you would be able to do yourself some damage. You know, I never really agreed with them that I would commit suicide in the cell as a result of having been arrested for selling books. But rules are rules, and they're following the rules. So actually, I felt completely. I felt that Krishna was in the cell with me even more when all those things were stripped away, because we've been out there for him. Nobody goes on book distribution for yourself. There's not enough in it. You can only do it for Krishna. And when you do it for Krishna, then it works. If you don't do it for Krishna, it doesn't. If you're doing it for the score, or to look good, or, it doesn't work. So I felt even closer to Krishna. And of course, when we have an operation or something, we have to take all these bits and pieces off. That's fine. As long as we put them on. You know the story in Oxford Town Hall when Prabhupada had a microphone that would stay. You know that story? And he called one of his young disciples over who just, he just received Brahmin initiation. So Prabhupada called him and said, "Give me a Brahmin thread." The disciple thought, "Oh, this is wonderful. My Guru Maharaj is going to do a special ritual. He's going to bless my Brahmin thread a second time. I'm getting this and no one else is getting it." And Prabhupada took his Brahmin thread and tied the microphone to the stick. Tied it in a knot. Devotee was shocked. But Prabhupada was placing teaching higher than a ritual procedure. So the ability to speak to a crowd and give them Krishna is much higher than the ritualistic following of. And yet at the same time that is still important. So whether or not they wear neck beads, devotees are protected. In some cases, in Vrindavan, you go and people have, for protection, they never leave Vrindavan. They never leave Vrindavan. They take that vow. And Prabhupada said, for protection, he said, I have left Vrindavan for protection. So they're staying in Vrindavan for protection, but I've left Vrindavan for protection. I've taken Vrindavan all over the world. He said, each and every one of my temples is Vrindavan. He said, so if you live there, so you take a vow. Also, there was a man who stayed in Vrindavan, and he'd taken a vow never to leave Vrindavan because he wanted to die in Vrindavan, and he had to go to hospital. Sorry, this is not probably an appropriate time to say this, but he was on the bus to Delhi, going to the hospital, and he had a heart attack and died. He'd been in Vrindavan for 20 years. The moment he left Vrindavan. You cannot, Mare Krishna, Rake Ke, Rake Krishna, Mare Ke. If Krishna wants to save you, no one can harm you. If Krishna wants to take you, make you leave this world, no one can protect you. So it's all up to Krishna. One of our life members was in a kirtan. The kirtan at the end of a festival is usually a big Haribol foot stomper, isn't it? Yeah, go around. He's playing the tablas. Just passed away. Middle of the kirtan. There's some great stories about devotees pass away in blessed circumstances. Ultimately, though, this is simply an effect. The body has the latest in the chain of cause and effects from 1,400 different people went to make this body. None of them were devotees. So really I shouldn't be attached to it, should I? None of us should be attached to this body. It's going to go eventually. Planned obsolescence. Hare Krishna. Can we finish it? Yes, Hare Krishna. I don't know what the etiquette here is. Everything stops for breakfast. Or, come on. Okay. I'm here tomorrow. Somebody else speaking. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. One question. When there is protection from Krishna, right, we feel actually the protection. But when seemingly we see that there is no protection, we didn't get protection, then how to intensify that even in that actually we have a protection from Krishna? Like you are giving the example of the accident a devotee met, right? So one may feel that why did I get an accident actually? That's not a protection. But then actually after accident, if somebody is saved, he thinks that Krishna saved me. So how to intensify that feeling of protection?
I had that feeling. I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was very angry with Krishna. I said to Krishna, why me? Why now? After all I've done for you, my Lord, why give me cancer? Could you not just have let this life go through its complications? And I didn't hear a voice reply, but this is my attitude. But then when I look back on it, what I discovered was that the cure for the particular cancer that I had was in the hands of one man who had come into the temple, who was the national expert on this type of cancer. And he came into the temple 6 weeks before my diagnosis and said, I'm here. I'd like to do some service for Krishna. So, in other circumstances, I would have, passed away with that cancer. It wasn't very pleasant. But the one person that could help me in the whole country came to the temple and said, I'd like to serve in some way. Is there anything I can help you out with? Oh, we have a devotee who's sick at the moment. Could you help? And he pushed it. We got the operation done on time. I had a sannyasi friend who was, before he joined, he was convinced that he was protected by God, and that's why he joined, because he was 16 or 17, hitching a ride in California, and he was picked up by this VW bus, with some hippies, and as they were driving along, he heard a voice, not from outside, but from inside. And the voice just said, get out now. It's dangerous. Get out. He said, stop the van. And they said, but we're going to where you want to go. We haven't reached the destination yet. He said, no, I need to get out now. And he hurriedly took his rucksack and jumped out. He thought, what a strange fellow. And he hitched a ride with another, and as he came round a corner about 20 miles ahead, he saw that the VW had gone over a cliff and smashed and killed people instantly. So then he met the devotees, and he realized that he was somehow or another, that if there was a God, God had protected him in this moment. So then he became a brahmachari, he was distributing books, and he was driving a truck, and he fell asleep. He fell asleep. He was looking at the sunrise. The sun was coming up, and he just dozed off and fell asleep. Sometime later, he was awakened by the sound of stones being thrown at the window. He just sat like this. And there was a motorbike policeman. And he was going, get out. And he said, wind down your window. He said, what planet are you from? He said, are you an alien? He said, why, officer? He said, I've been following you for 15 miles. You've been asleep the whole time with your head on the steering wheel. He said, you've been weaving in and out of traffic. How do you do that while you're asleep? What damn planet are you from? 15 miles. Anyway, he was convinced that God had a plan for him. It's amazing. So due to past bhakti sukriti, we come into Krishna's embrace in this life. And it's almost inevitable, although you still have free will, it's almost inevitable that in this life you will meet Vaishnavas and you'll take advantage of their association. Krishna pulls you. So we find that our devotees come from many, many different circumstances. Like the doctor who was the Prabhu disciple, who was a doctor in Vietnam. He was shot 6 times in the battlefield. He'd been threatened that, we will kill you if you don't take the soldiers back from the battlefield. So he was doing his duty. He got shot 6 times. He was zipped up in a body bag, and he was put in the hot sun in a pile of body bags. 48 hours later, after lying in the hot sun for 48 hours with bullet wounds, the helicopter came. And he just heard a voice saying, "Sarge, this one's moving." And the voice said, "Take him out." He unzipped the body bag, and he was on his way to a new life. At that moment, he realized that God or whoever had protected him, and he wanted to find out why he was saved and why he had to live again. So immediately he found the devotees and became a Vaishnava. So sometimes that protection comes as a result of the life of a Vaishnava in the last life, and we're simply continuing. We don't know. But even if you were a Vaishnava in the last life, you think to yourself, in this life, I was not a Vaishnava, and I'm now coming to Krishna for the first time. You still remain very... One more. You know these, when you see these, you see these buses go up to the Himalayas, right? You see them on these tracks. There's only room for one bus. My friend, Prabhu disciple, his name was Abhaya Shraya. He was on a bus with 56 people in it. The bus fell off and rolled 1,000 feet down into the canyon. 54 people were killed. 2 people were saved. One of them was Abhaya Shraya. And he's been going on a pilgrimage, but he realized at that point that he could say God for a purpose. So then he met the devotees and became one. Sometimes it takes a miracle to bring you. Sometimes it takes a miracle to keep you. Sometimes it takes a miracle in later life. But Krishna will do what has to be done in order to keep you. Provided you begin each day with the words, "My dear Lord, please protect me this day." Hare Krishna. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Supreme Protector of the Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Supreme Shastra of the Vaishnavas, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Supreme Protector of our daily life, the Vaishnava Sangha ki jai. And let us all pray for the success, continued success of the abode of mercy, Karuna Bhavan. Hare Krishna.
Jai.